Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I guess I'm in the soccer spirit because the Chicago Fire have beat the Chicago White Sox to the plot of land at the 78 here in the city of Chicago. It's early. We're taking shots already, but that's okay because the Cubs win 8-3 over the Washington Nationals. We only got one game to talk about tonight, but I am Ron Luce, joined by none other than Mr. Nick Hudson. Nick, buddy, Cubs win. Tomorrow's halfway through the week already. How you feeling? How you doing?
Heck yeah, I'm doing fantastic, man. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Happy Tuesday to you, Ron. I know that this is your least favorite day of the week, but Cubs bring you a big old W. Should, ease the pain a little bit of this Tuesday. And as you mentioned, we're going to the halfway point of the week. So I'm feeling good. I'm excited to break this one down with you.
Me too, man. I'll tell you what, the Cubs definitely can make a Tuesday a lot better with a W. It always feels good. My dad already crack them. Hey, turn it up on a Tuesday. I support it. I'm always a fan of that. Nico, we go is what Scott says here in the comment section. And I'll tell you what, this was a good, fun win tonight, Nick. A lot of good things truly to talk about. Coming back, obviously, from down is always a big punchline as well. Down 3-1 going into the fourth inning. Cubs rally to tie it up. And then, Nick, in the fifth inning, the Cubs scored 4 runs.
Yep.
That was the 28th time this season that the Chicago Cubs have put up a 4-run inning, which is 9 more than the next team in baseball, which is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're tied with somebody else too. I forget who the third team was, but the Dodgers had 19 of those type innings. The Cubs have done it 28 times, man. And I'll tell you what, we've talked about it in years past, how this Cubs team couldn't put up the crooked number and they couldn't get it done. Crooked numbers everywhere in the box score this year, man, and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Dude, it's been unbelievable. And as you said, I mean, it's just so great because these other years we haven't had this. So the offensive explosions like that are so great. And it also takes the pressure off the starters. This is exactly what I had asked for coming into the series, is to jump on Trevor Williams right out of the gate, let Cade Horton, ease the pressure off of Horton and let him pitch. We're going to talk about him a little bit more, but he tends to throw a lot of pitches. So this helps because he can throw strikes. He could throw the ball in there, get soft contact, and kind of work through those innings. So it was so great to see. And, there's so many players that we're going to talk about tonight, but just right off the bat, Nico, I mean, you got to value what he brings to this team. There's a lot of people that talked about getting rid of him. He just brings so much, and every time he's the guy you want up at the plate with the bases loaded and 2 outs. He is Mr. Clutch, and he knew the situation there. He took the ball the opposite way, and that was the nail in the coffin right there. So it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and let's start there with Nico, because we got a lot of players to get to. A lot of great comments that are going to support a lot of our discussion so far. So everybody that is dropping comments, continue it, because we will continue to show them as they fit within the show. We're all about taste here. We don't just blatantly show your comments and then forget about them. We work them into the show at Cubs on Tap. But I mean, we've had a lot of these already tonight. Nico Wigo, Nico Suave. And I'll tell you what, Nick, I think the coolest part about what Nico did tonight is it was a literal, almost carbon copy of what he did on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
bases loaded, take the ball the opposite way, late insurance runs that are the nail in the coffin in securing a Cubs win. He does it again. And he's doing it from the 7 and 8 spot this year. He doesn't need to be high up in the order. And it's just a testament to how deep the lineup is this season, right? Again, everybody slots down one spot because of the Tucker addition. Shit, Tucker didn't even play tonight. It didn't even matter. They still scored 8 runs. They still got a huge W. But you see when guys are hitting in the spots that they feel, like they can do the most damage. To me, that's where Nico Hoerner fits well in that 7 hole, because he can run for you and start to help set up kind of the bottom of the order, and hell, even the top of the order at times if you're able to move around. But then when in these situations come up, when you've got guys in front of him like Dansby Swanson and Michael Busch and Carson Kelly and PCA, he's able to drive them in. And that's what we're seeing. And, Nico's had such a spectacular season, and it's such a weird season, Nick. Can I share just kind of how weird his season is right now?
Please do.
It's something that I've admittedly maybe never seen. And we all know that Nico Hoerner's not a huge power hitter, right? And he'll probably get a lot more homers as the weather warms up, especially some days that are real windy at Wrigley. The power will come. Obviously, that 10 homer season is what we all still think about, because 2022 was, at least from a power perspective, was his best season, even though from an RBI standpoint, 2023 was actually his best year. But if he keeps this up, Nick, right now, through 56 games played for Nico Hoerner, he has scored 35 runs, which, great. It's a good number. He has 15 doubles, which is very on par, maybe even a little better than par than what he's done in past years. He had 35 a year ago, 27 the year before that, 22 the year before that. Obviously, 10, 9, 7 in terms of homers. He has no homers yet this year.
Yeah, 0 home runs.
He has 1 triple, which matches his number from last year. But he already has 28 RBIs, and he's only struck out 18 times compared to 14 walks and 12 stolen bases. He is slashing 300, 345, 377.
That'll work.
It's not what you'd always expect.
No.
It's not necessarily the sexiest thing, but it still looks really pretty when you factor in his defensive play.
Yeah.
And he continues to show why, really, since 2022, it's almost easy at this point, dare I say, Nick, to just pencil him in as at least a 5-WAR player every single year.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it looks especially better as the 7th spot, like you mentioned. I mean, you're getting that kind of production from there. It's been awesome to see. And even tonight, with Tucker out, you could see early on that they kind of struggled not having him in the lineup. Just the pitches that they were seeing, they weren't seeing as good of pitches as if he was in there. But they made that adjustment very quickly, and Michael Busch has a lot to do with that. But Hoerner, man, you can't say enough things about him. He just brings consistency to this ball club, and I feel like they kind of have emulated that throughout the lineup. They take that approach, and he's just the guy that you want up there in those positions with 2 outs like that. And that is just a difference maker. When you can score with 2 outs, it's really debilitating to the other team. So it's just awesome to see.
100%. It's, again, I think his impact is more almost appreciated from the 7 hole because of what he's able to do with the guys in front of him when they're getting on base and setting things up. But you brought up another name, and we absolutely have to talk about Michael Busch. It was Bushy night, 100%. And you know what? He's continuing to pick up for Kyle Tucker not being available. Yep. And that's the thing. I feel like, have given a lot of love to Michael Busch over the course of this season already. I love to bring up that he's quietly been an above 800 OPS player the whole year. Nobody's talking about him just because of the star power and the meat of the order with guys like Tucker and Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong. But holy shit, man, Michael Busch is showing that if you're down a Kyle Tucker, or you're down a Seiya Suzuki, or you're down a Pete Crow Armstrong, or hell, maybe even down a Dansby Swanson or down an Ian Happ, he's the type of guy that can hit in those, 4, 5, 6 holes and really do a lot of damage. And he did it again tonight.
Yep.
He reached again in every single plate appearance, all but one, just like he did on Sunday. Had a really good day. He was 2 for 2 on Sunday with 2 walks. Tonight, 3 for 4 with a walk. That's awesome. that plays. And on top of that, 2 runs scored, 3 RBIs, which once again leads the team on the evening. He has quietly pushed his numbers up to a 276 average and an 895 OPS. And Nick, I was thinking about this earlier because, people have talked about Ian Happ and his struggles, and we kind of highlighted it a little bit on Sunday's show. Like, hey, he's kind of a warm weather hitter. He always has been. This is nothing really out of the ordinary for Ian Happ at this point in the year. This team has been so good without Ian Happ being Ian Happ.
Yeah.
What happens when Michael Busch keeps this shit up? Like, is it just going to be 11 runs every game? If that's the case, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to love it. You're going to love it. Everybody in the comment section is going to love it.
Absolutely.
But he's playing some of his best baseball. And like, I just have the thought of, because he's a Minnesota native, right? And like, is this another, like him and Ian Happ are the 2 Midwest guys. Yep. Are these 2 guys just, they thrive once the weather gets warm? Because if they're going to be able to hum, and the 4 that have really largely been carrying the offense thus far continue to hit, you're not going to be able to stop this offense, period.
Yeah. Well, this offense is already unstoppable right now as it is. And as you said, if they can start being consistent moving forward, and as the weather warms up, like, holy crap, man. And also, it's also that next man up mentality where
100%.
Tucker's out tonight. Busch steps up and says, well, I got it, boys. I'll put you guys on my back. No problem. And that's just, it's so important, because when your stars go down like that, to have a guy to step up right behind him, that's huge. And especially like a guy like Michael Busch, where he's a young guy. He's been solid at first base. He's been remarkable for the Cubs. So it's just great to see. And he puts the exclamation point on with a blast. Like, honestly, that thing was no doubter. It was crushed. He just continues to deliver for you. And as you said, with an 895 OPS, like, quietly, because of the top of the lineup, that's awesome. Like, it's great to see. And throughout the lineup, you're getting production everywhere. And it just feels like I said, one guy goes down, there's someone back here to pick it up. Even if there's a guy in a slump, there's another guy behind him to be, well, I'm going to go off now. And to your point, if they're all going off at the same time, boy, is this going to get fun. This is going to be a great time.
And I'll tell you what, if Michael Busch keeps hitting this way, I don't miss Zaire Hope or Jackson Ferris in this Cubs system as what ifs, because as everybody knows at home, a prospect is a prospect until they're no longer a prospect. So, again, this guy is just continuing to make Jed right, continuing to make that move look brilliant, to kind of go out of the box and go get a guy who had a ton of upside, just was blocked by legitimately 2 potential Hall of Famers, one for sure in Freddie Freeman and another potential one in Max Muncy. That's where the gambles pay off. And we're certainly seeing that. And you mentioned just how the offense has been humming. And Seiya Suzuki and Dansby Swanson can go 0 for 7 tonight and still get 3 RBIs, sack flies, doing what it takes to manufacture runs. And that's just kind of how this offense has been. I think the difference, I almost feel just gross saying this because it's still so early in the season, but those golden era, and I'm just always going to refer to them as the golden era Cubs. Everybody's going to know what I talk about. They lived and died the same offensive method every single time. It was the long ball, and it was getting walks and getting on base and then killing people with, multi-run homers, right? Mm-hmm. That was the recipe. And playing good defense behind it, obviously, and pitching.
Yep.
This year, the Cubs offensively can kill you. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
You want to play small ball? Cool. We got 7 guys on this roster that can steal bags, get into scoring position, and then all we need is a flare single to score runs. Or, we're going to get guys on because everybody takes good at bats. Scott brought up a great point. The Nationals use 6 pitchers. Exactly how Moneyball says to win a series. Yeah, get to their bullpen early because now they're gassed for the next 2 days.
Yep, exactly.
You had to make them use 6 pitchers in this game. And yeah, the Cubs still used 4, but nobody's going to be gassed to a point, maybe beside Thielbar for a day or 2.
Maybe, yeah.
Just to, nobody's going to really be gassed if you need to use them again in the series. But they can beat you that way, right? Take good at bats, get walks, get on base, drive you nuts, and then just annihilate you, whether it's the timely single from Nico Horner or the big home run from Michael Busch or, the statement play from Pete Crow Armstrong. Like, it doesn't matter. This team can kill you 1,000 ways.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is the glaring difference of the way this team is constructed in 2025 compared to any of those teams the way they were constructed between 2015 and circa 2021. And that's going to be huge later in the season as things continue to hum. Now, there are a ton. Jackson Ferris was traded again. I did not know that, actually. I don't pay attention to other teams' prospects once they leave the Cubs organization. That's just kind of how I play. But a couple of great comments here that I want to quickly address, Nick, before we talk about some other players. And I have one in mind because Scott had a comment in here that kind of prompted some thoughts on it. But Scott's got some fun ones. He says, I don't have an official stat, but on games called by Alex Cohen, the Cubs the Cubs have runs per game. It has to be average runs per game has to be over 7. It's definitely high.
Yeah, it is.
I can't argue that. And the other question he says, does Counsell start playing Busch every day at first base, regardless of lefty righty? I think we're getting close.
Yeah,
I really do. Especially as the weather warms up. I think we're going to see it. And especially if this lineup's fully healthy, I don't see why they don't. When Nico was at the plate, Hank says, I relax as if Zobrist was up there with the solid contact almost every time. I think that's a great note as well. And then this was the comment. This one was fun. We definitely got to share. Christopher's 100% right. It's strange that it's already June and they haven't played the Cardinals yet. They won't even play the Cardinals till the end of the month. The Cubs will not see the St. Louis Cardinals until the last full week of June, which I believe is like June 23rd is the start of that series, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It's like the 23rd to the 26th because it's a 4-game set. That's bonkers.
That's crazy.
Absolutely bonkers. But this is the guy I wanted to talk about, Nick, because I feel like especially in the absence of Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong looked really good in the 3-hole tonight. And I know the numbers weren't necessarily sexy. 1 for 3 isn't always sexy. But 2 runs scored and 2 walks is sexy.
It is.
And Pete Crow Armstrong's plate discipline has come such a long way. Now he's becoming a complete hitter where you can't just throw him a high fastball and expect him to chase. He had one really bad swing there late in the game that he struck out on that was kind of gross, and those are going to happen every once in a while. But you'll take the good over the bad. A really strong night from him. Again, everybody in this lineup hit except for Suzuki and Dansby, and yet those 2 still drove in 3 runs.
Yeah, they still got those sacrifice flies.
Just a crazy, crazy night. But Pete Crow Armstrong looks really comfortable in the middle of this order. And Nick, I wanted to preface this with having a question for you. When Kyle Tucker returns, if you were Craig Counsell, or at least in Craig Counsell's shoes, would you alternate the 3 and 4 spots here and there with Pete Crow Armstrong and Seiya Suzuki to give team different looks? Or would you go back to what's been working, quote unquote, thus far this season with Seiya hitting in that 3-hole and PCA kind of finding a home for himself a little bit there in the 4-hole?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would keep him in the 4-hole. I like that combo there. I think Seiya Suzuki has just been really good, in that spot, but to have PCA behind them in that cleanup role, like he's your big power guy right now. So it makes sense to leave him there. I wouldn't hate if they went back and forth, but I would rather keep doing what's working. And I like seeing Seiya Suzuki in the 3rd hole for sure. I think he does really well. I think he sees a lot more hittable pitches where he can do a lot more damage on them. So overall, I would just keep it the same.
I have always been in the camp of the lower Suzuki can hit in a lineup, the better for him, because then he'll see more hittable pitches because he is a threat. When he hits in the 2-hole, like you saw tonight, yeah, he had the RBI, but 0 for 4 it's hard to hit in the 2-hole. That's why Kyle Tucker hits there. Like that's kind of his spot. Yep. I don't hate PCA in the 3 hole, and that's kind of what Scott wants here. He says Tucker in the 2, followed by PCA and Seiya. I wouldn't hate that in the sense of if you played it to matchups. Maybe, this pitcher throws more X pitches to lefties, and maybe that pitch is something that Pete and Tucker can really hack at. Then maybe you give Pete a shot in the 3 hole. But if it's like we're seeing a so-and-so and he's going to throw a lot of weird shit, and maybe giving him the lefty will kind of throw him off his game a little bit. Again, there's different ways to skin a cat in this instance, but I think it's a good problem to have when we can sit here and have these debates about who should hit where.
Yeah.
Because everybody is producing at a high level.
Sure. Yeah. And I was thinking about it too, just going against what I just said. It might be better to have Seiya there behind PCA because PCA is so fast and Seiya gets the ball in the air. So, I mean, if PCA is going to get to third with a triple, which is likely, I mean, Seiya can hit him home. So it goes both ways for sure. Definitely.
And it allows your 2 RBI kings to continue to be RBI kings amongst the top of baseball. But Nick, I want to transition a little bit because obviously it was a great night from the offense, but I do want to talk about Cade Horton. I think this is incredibly important because this further backs up what we've been saying the last couple of shows. And my dad put it perfectly. I think Horton is up for good. I don't think there's any world you can justify sending him back to Iowa right now.
No.
And if you do, there might be a slight disturbance in the force amongst the Cubs fan base.
I might riot.
That's what I'm saying. Like
PTO and go riot.
there might be some extracurricular shenanigans if Cade Horton returns to the minors. And it is cool and tough when he's only throwing 77 pitches to get through 5 1/3.
Yeah.
As soon as he starts feeling comfortable, though, throwing 85 to 90 a game, this is a guy who has the potential to throw like a Shota Imanaga or a Justin Steele, where he can go 7 innings regularly and absolutely just be dominant. And he looked great. And you can tell he's comfortable. Like, I think that's the cool thing about some of these new pitchers that are coming up in baseball. They're used to the pitch clock already, right? There is no adjustment, acclimation period.
Yeah, you could tell they're comfortable with it.
They're like Horton was. I remember really dialing into a Horton pitch sequence at one point tonight, and he just throws pitch, gets it back from the catcher, and as soon as he does, like he's already here.
Yeah, he's already ready to go.
And like he's firing 6 seconds later. He's not afraid to throw fast.
Yeah.
And I think that, he looks comfortable. A great stat line from him. He wins his 3rd game tonight by going 5 and getting the word. 3 is kind of his magic number in terms of earned runs. And I think that's okay, given the way the Cubs offense has been this season. Yeah. Only 1 walk, which I think is the most encouraging statistic there. Only 3 Ks, which whatever is fine. You mentioned it earlier, right? He can get that weak ground, contact, especially working with that changeup he's got now. He's obviously got that nasty sweeper. He's got the curveball that can generate some weak contact as well. Only 6 hits given up along the way as well. But again, a 5 1/3 outing from him. And then Thielbar comes in, gets his 6th hold of the season. He pitches almost 2 full innings, inning and 2/3. Just the 1 hit given up. I mean, the bullpen only gave up 2 base runners tonight, both via hits. Thielbar gave up a hit. Presley gave up a hit. Other than that, and the Cubs only struck out 4 batters.
Yep.
But they played to the strength of this team. Weak ground balls. Let your defense that is star-studded. I mean, again, this group defensively, especially the way Shaw's playing now at 3rd, I'm going to go out on the limb of the century, Nick. There is a world, I'm not guaranteeing it, but there is an absolute world where all 9 position players for the Chicago Cubs are up for Gold Gloves by the end of the season.
Whoa.
Like, it's genuinely possible. I'm not saying they're up to win, but I think they're all at least finalists.
Yep.
Because Bush plays a great first base. We already know what the middle infield does. Shaw looks fantastic at 3rd. Carson Kelly's a really good defensive catcher. And then you've got the 3-time Gold Glover who's looking to go 4 in a row out in left field. You've got the guy who's already got a minor league Gold Glove. He's going to get a major league, at least 1, probably 10 by the time he retires. And then even Kyle Tucker's played good defense. Not great. Maybe Tucker's the one guy where you go, okay, maybe he's not a finalist.
Yeah, maybe not.
But even then, that's incredible. If you have 8 guys, we got an over-under at 4.5. I'm taking the over as it stands.
Yeah, I'm taking the over on that.
It's gross, man. But back to the point on Horton. I mean, yeah, imagine when he gets that slider going. I mean, things are starting to look up for Cade Horton, and he looks comfortable, and that makes me really, really excited.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm really excited about it. And to your point, they can't send him down. He's made it where there really isn't even an argument at this point. He has to just stay up. He has to be up here. The thing I'm most excited for is the ceiling. Like you said, like what happens when he really gets stretched out here? Like how deep is he really going to go in these games? And the composure is really what just like strikes me for being in his position and not really he doesn't get shaken up at all. Like even if he gets himself into some trouble, he does not look like worried one bit. He gets himself out of it very quickly. The weak contact, there were a couple balls hit hard, but for the most part, they really weren't hitting him hard, the hits that they had. So he looks great. And in the Cubs bullpen, I'm just stunned. I'm honestly stunned by where we were at the beginning of the season talking about this bullpen, the fears that we all were having about this bullpen to now to this point. You can call Thielbar Mr. Hold because I feel like he's just every day he comes in for a hold. And Cabrera looked great as well. And that's your new arm. So he looked good too. Presley, he's just slowly inching his way back into that circle of trust or the high leverage situations, maybe. It's great to see. But for Horton, like, it's so exciting. And it makes it, with the whole Ben Brown thing, it just makes this a lot more, better to stomach with having a guy like Horton, where you have so many starting pitching injuries. Well, you have a guy like Horton that's, forgive me if I'm wrong, has come in for all 5 of Shota's starts around it, right? I would say 5, 4.
For who? Colin Ray?
No. Horton.
Sorry. Oh, yes. Horton's taking the ball every
time, and he's been solid. I mean, 3-0. So what more can you ask?
He's 3-0 as a starter, but I believe the Cubs are undefeated with Horton on the mound so far.
Yeah, they're 5-0. No, I was saying him as a starter is 3-0. But they're 5-0. What more can you ask for coming up in a spot like that to cover a guy like Shota, such a big shadow? Like he's been nothing but great. So I'm super excited to see what he has. And every time he's on the mound, I purposely make it like my absolute goal to be in front for every single pitch. I just personally love watching him pitch. Like he's just awesome to watch. And he's been an exciting prospect for a long time. And as you said, a prospect until they're not one.
Until they're not anymore.
And now he's not one anymore. He's in the big leagues and he's looking great. So I'm excited to see what more is going to come from him. And this bullpen, I'm running out of words of what I can say because I'm just so shocked by the turnaround of this thing. Like I really am. I was really worried at first. So it's awesome to see. And it's good to see Presley being solid out there and not just like falling apart, especially after being removed from the closer role. Sometimes I can get in a guy's head, especially a guy like a veteran, that's in those high leverage situations. So 100%. It's great to see. Great to see pitching, all around good game.
It absolutely is. I will say this about Ryan Presley, and I think fans are so enthralled with that 8-run extra inning against the Giants that he gave up that I think they forget how good he's actually been this year.
Yeah.
Because the Cub Hub at Cubs Skipper, if anybody follows on X, you'll know he's got the picture of Craig Counsell as their avatar. Ryan Presley's earned runs over the last 20 appearances. Anything stand out? And it's just a big list of a bunch of numbers. And this was as of Monday. So this is now 21 appearances from Ryan Presley. 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 8 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. You get the hint. He's had one bad outing.
Wow.
over his last 21 appearances.
It's actually shocking to me as well.
But everybody,
Yeah, we
you got to
remember
remember,
that.
Cubs fans are wired a little differently. Everybody's a pessimist in Cubs Twitter. That's what I've learned. Everybody's Ryan Presley sucks. He had one bad outing, one in his last 21 appearances where he's given up a run. He's been really good, and I think you know what. And this was something I said during the offseason, and I got poo-pooed on for it. Which whatever, fuck you. But why is it a bad thing to have multiple guys that can close games for you? Why is that a bad thing? You go out and get Ryan Presley, who's that veteran presence, who's been there, done that, knows his shit, was an elite closer at one point. That's a good dude to have in your bullpen. Then you got the young up-and-comers, right? You got the Daniel Palencia that hits 101 on the gun. You got, some of these other guys that were quote-unquote bargain bin finds. Thielbar, who was only a couple $1 million. Drew Pomeranz, who literally has been arisen from the dead.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much to be said about just how good they've been. And then you factor in a Genesis Cabrera and just adding another lefty, and he settles in and gets comfortable. This bullpen's dangerous, and they have depth. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody struggles. Have no fear. There's like 7 guys in Iowa that could come up and get the job done. That's exactly how you want to have a big league bullpen built, and they have that going right now. So I agree with you. I think it was great that Presley got the ball late in the game. I think that's good for his confidence. Let him get back into the rhythm again. Is he necessarily going to be throwing in those situations? Maybe not. If we come around to playoffs and he's still pitching really well, he might be your 7th inning guy, which, you know what, Nick? That's a great problem to have.
Fine. Yeah,
great problem.
Great. Yeah.
I don't care if he's being paid $8.5 million a year. That's a great problem to have. All right. So I think that's something too with Presley that people just got to keep in mind. I know we like to focus on the bad, but you know what? And you know what I'm looking forward to most, Nick. Two additional thoughts here on the pitching before we continue to talk about some other things. I cannot wait until the end of June when Genesis Cabrera comes into a game late against the Cardinals and just fucking shoves it down their throat.
Yeah.
Just absolutely just sticks it to them. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to
because they lost it then tonight, which you were keeping up on that game, and Christopher was kind enough to confirm that for us here in the comment section a little bit earlier.
They choked that one.
Choked it away. They are now, I think it's 6 games back of the Cubs, right? Or 5? I think it's 5.
5.
Let's double check. Let's double check the number here. One moment, please. 5 games. 6 games for the Brewers, 9 games for the Reds, and a just tragic 16.5 games for the Pirates. It's bad. So I'm telling you, man, like that's something I'm looking forward to. And then the other thing that I have to ask you in relation to Cade Horton, how do we feel about the number in 22? Because I know every Cubs fan goes, well, Mark Pryor, and it looks great, but I got recency bias. And the last guy I really remember taking the ball as a starter wearing 22 was none other than Matt Garza.
Oh, Matt Garza.
In the dark days of Cubs baseball in the early 2010s.
Hey, no Matt Garza hate.
No Matt Garza hate. I love Matt Garza. Hey, I was in attendance for Matt Garza's no-hitter when he was a Tampa Bay Ray. So I will always have a soft spot for Matt Garza as a baseball player. But I see 22 and I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about the number for Cade Horton. Like, to me, and maybe this is Marcus Stroman bias because everybody knows was my dude. I say was because I don't even know if he's like on a big league roster right now with the Yankees. I don't even know where he's at. I haven't really been paying attention. But like the single digit looks so sick. And like Cade Horton would look so good with a single digit number. But I kind of fuck with the 22. I don't know. What do you think? What do you like 22?
I do like 22. I do. I think that suits him. I know what you're talking about with a single digit. It is pretty freaking cool, but I like 22 for him. I feel like it suits him well. Just something about it.
It's a clean number. It's a clean number.
Exactly. Yeah. I like that it's just doubles,
What's the term, Nick? Angel numbers, right?
Yeah, angel number. Well, that would be 3333, right? 2222.
I think it would be at least triple. 3 of a kind, yeah. But It's the
But
same vein.
it's the same vibe though.
Same
You know,
vibe.
it's
Same
smooth.
vibe.
Just like Cade Horton, it's smooth, which I like. It just
Smooth.
feels smooth. And you know, he's been smooth. So
Well, speaking of a guy with a flowing number and then a not so flowing number, Pomeranz wearing 45, Flexen wearing 77. Those two have combined to give up 28 scoreless innings so far this year.
that's
So
beautiful. Flex,
it's crazy.
Awesome. He's been great.
You know what I love about the fact that Chris Flexen and Brad Keller have been absolutely fantastic for the Cubs
White Sox.
is they were both White Sox last year.
I knew you were gonna do that.
And it's just something I can tell them to go stick it up their ass.
Fantastic.
And it's kind of fun. But Nick, before we
Keller's
look
been
ahead
great.
to the, I'm sorry,
Keller's been great too.
he has been great.
He's been great. Like he's one of those guys that'll shove it down your throat as well. Like he's
100%.
awesome.
Reiterating, I saw an extend Brad Keller sign in the bleachers last Friday. So there is plenty of love for Brad Keller on the north side of Chicago. Nick, before we look ahead to the rest of this series, a fun conversation that is occurring in the comments section. One more comment here quickly. There was some back and forth over this as well. Over under 3.5 All-Stars this year.
I'm taking the over on that.
Yeah, probably, especially because, well, all right, let's dive into this really quick because this wasn't even where I wanted to go, but let's take a shot at this. P. Crow Armstrong is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker is probably an all-star.
Exactly. Yep.
Carson Kelly?
Maybe. Possibly. I mean, yeah, possible.
So-
That's
so
why I'm
there's-
taking the over because
There's
you
my
got
question,
Suzuki.
though. Saya. Okay. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't even thinking about
So if
Saya.
there's
That's
another
on me.
guy that tips the scale, that's why I
Yeah.
would take the over on the 3.5 because
Yeah.
it's just going to take one more.
Yeah.
But that
And
PCA All-Star prediction is looking
Look.
pretty damn good.
looks really fucking good, dude. Hey, somebody's got to hit on one of their bold predictions every year. And so far, we've actually had a couple of hits over the years.
Yeah.
That one looks creme de la creme, top of the list in terms of like, everybody's like, ooh, all-star? And it's like, oh, shit.
yeah.
Nick was on to something. But yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that happening. The other one, and Scott says Nico is an all-star. Hey, he might be an all-star in our hearts, but that's not up to us. Because he gets disrespected amongst the national fan base. So again, that's kind of where I'm like, who are the shoe-ins? And like, to me, there's 3 shoe-ins. The back and forth in the comment section was like, well, if Shota was healthy, he's probably another one. And I tend to agree with that. So that's kind of the balance you have to have, right? Is like, well, let's remember that everything is a little, a little chaotic when it's all said and done. Before we stole a breeze and saying Drew Pomeranz is going to be an all-star. Hey, that shit would be freaking awesome. I would be all for that. But Nick, the other debate here is over a very polarizing figure in the world of baseball, not Cubs particular. But Scott is hell-bent on knowing
Holy crap.
if Trevor Bauer is signing with the Cubs.
If he is, I got to wear the mankini. I didn't forget about
True.
So-
I did forget about that. So I'm
I
glad you
didn't
said
forget
something.
about it.
I'll tell you what, though, I really don't. I don't see anybody in baseball signing him at this point in his career. Like, I think he's going to go play in all these other leagues and he's going to tear it up, but nobody's going to touch him. And I don't even think it's because of it's the legal things and, he was so wrong. And because he wasn't, like, he was acquitted, like he was found not guilty of all these wrongdoings, but he's just created such a stigma around him. No team wants the PR headache. And for that alone, he's not going to sign it.
Exactly. He's kind of blacklisted. And once you're blacklisted, it's really hard to get back.
Heroes had to die to get unbanned from baseball.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Baseball-
really hard.
If there's one sport that can hold a grudge, it's baseball.
It's baseball. Yeah, look at
It-
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah. Look at the
Like-
steroid era players in general.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not.
They
There's
will-
no way, and that's why I 100% made that bet because I am not wearing a mankini on this air because Trevor Bauer is not signing with the Chicago Cubs. First of all, the Cubs would be probably the last team, maybe like the third to last team that would want to touch that. I get with the whole Aroldis Chapman type of like counter argument there. I understand that. But at the same time, like, can you compare the two? Not really. I don't think you can.
It's interesting. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Nick, do you have any final thoughts on this series? Or not even on this series, on this first game of the series? I'm so used to us talking about like at least 2 games. It feels really, really weird to talk about one.
It feels weird to talk about one. The final thoughts are keep this momentum going into tomorrow. We're gonna talk about it, but you're gonna face a tough pitcher. It's not gonna be as easy as a Trevor Williams. So just keep this offensive momentum moving into tomorrow. Try to get another win. Try to get another series win. Just keep stacking them. I've said it over and over and over, and I'll just continue to keep saying it because it's really important. If you just continue to stack them, you don't need the sweeps. You won't be in a position where you're like, oh, we got to get a sweep here. I remember so many years where you're feeling that awful feeling of like, you got to get a sweep. There's no doubt about it. Like you need a sweep. So that's not pressure you want. And you can just alleviate all of that by continuing to win series.
Amen to that, man. 2 out of 3 will get you a long way. A 666 win percentage, or 667, I guess, technically, get you really far in the sport of baseball. So it'd be cool to see. Chapman and Russell is what Scott was alluding to there. Yeah, but the Cubs got rid of both of them pretty quickly once it was all done. And those guys were actually like charged a little bit more. I'm telling you, Scott, I agree. Trevor Bauer's a good baseball player. Like he's killing it in the NPB right now. He's pitching incredibly. He was great down in Mexico last year. He's still a good pitcher. The problem is nobody wants the PR headache. So no matter how good he is, it's not going to be worth it to these organizations because you got to remember these are still businesses at the end of the day. And just like you're not going to hire a toxic employee, even if they're going to pay you big dividends, I think that's how a lot of these teams are seeing it when it's all said and done. Stole It Breezing coming out with a comment saying Cubs are going after Gallen, which would certainly be interesting. I mean, the Diamondbacks are kind of a faltering team. Scott mentioned it on Sunday's show. Again, as these teams kind of start to shake, like June is going to be when the pretenders and the contenders really separate themselves. Yeah. So I think we as Cubs fans are going to have a good understanding and a good feeling for, kind of where things stand when it's all said and done with the state of who they're going to go after at the deadline and really kind of who's available. Nick, 2 more games are ahead on the schedule here. Both of them are 5:45 start times locally in the Chicagoland area, which are obviously 6:45 starts in Washington. We mentioned a little bit on Sunday's show, but we will rehash the pitching matchups. Will be Matthew Boyd throwing for the Cubs. It is Mackenzie Gore throwing for the Nationals tomorrow. So that's, if you like good pitching, Gore is a hell of a pitcher. Cubs still have TBD listed for Thursday, so we'll see how that shakes out. I would expect that to be Colin Ray unless something dramatically changes. And it'll be Irvin for the Nats, who has been very good so far. 5-1 with a 3.93 ERA for the Nationals. So 2 really good pitching matchups on the horizon. You and I talked about it. They had to get this done and get the first win, and they did that. And now it's just get at least one of these next 2, take a series win into Detroit because you got a hell of a matchup because literally, the Detroit Tigers said, we're not scared of the White Sox. Tarek Skubal's sitting until Friday because we got to play the Cubs. So just keep that one in mind.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done.
Thanks, White Sox.
Yeah. Thanks.
Assholes.
Hey, but they won. They beat the Tigers tonight, actually.
Up yours, so, Tigers.
That's
what you get for sitting Skubal.
They beat the Tigres. Yeah, they beat the Tigres tonight. So, which actually, we'll double check the quick standings here. What's going on? Oh no, they have 40 wins. So never mind. Cubs are still 2 back. Neither here nor there. Ooh, should be Pomeranz opener than Ray. I'm just gonna keep throwing Pomeranz as an opener. Hey, I mean, I like Drew Pomeranz as an opener. You know, and you know he knows how to start a game. I mean, he was a starter for his entire career up until recently. So certainly something there. Nick, before we get out here, want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap, 1 of 2 official shows covering the Chicago Cubs here at the On Tap Sports Network. Check out our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. They are live on Monday nights right here on the On Tap Sports Net YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and you know when all of our great shows go live. Be sure to follow along with us as well at Cubbies on Tap, Nick_on Tap, I'm Loose on Tap. You know where to follow the other boys as well. Be sure to give them some love. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, we've got it all. Bears, it's all worlds of silence right now. Bulls and Blackhawks, there's anticipation of a big summer ahead for those 2 teams. So be on the lookout for content from all of our groups here at ontapsportsnet.com. So once again, Cubs fans, you can also send your friends that like the White Sox to our friends. They can all be friends over at Sox on Tap, and they can wallow and cry that Jerry Reinsdorf is too cheap to fund a stadium because the Chicago Fire are funding a stadium on the plot of land that he wanted to get funding from the state on. I don't know, man. It's kind of a funny situation to watch unfold, but good for the Chicago Fire. Hey, man, that's awesome.
Good for them.
That franchise, ever since they changed ownership hands, has gone a long way. And you gotta love it. Gotta appreciate what's going on there. So once again, on tapsportsnet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on the socials. On Tap Sports Network, go check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Nick, this was a blast. Cubs win 8-3 over the Nationals. Things you absolutely love to see. Hoping to keep that going over the next 2 days. We will see you as a unit. Might not be the same panelists, but we will see you on Thursday evening. That'll be following this National Series. And then we'll be back with you guys again on Sunday following the Tiger Series when it's all said and done. Nick, what do you say? We get out of here the only way we know how?
Yeah, FTFC. Fuck the Fugazi Cardinals.
Fuck the Fugazi Cardinals. That's got to stick, dude, because I'm on that board. And as always, let's go Cubbies.